It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on kind of a cloudy Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to give you a little truth in broadcasting. This show was taped. I'm just going to level with you because there'll be a couple of things that are different about it. Hard to do an update when you don't know what stories are out there. So I just decided, what the heck? I'm not going to try to hide it. This show's taped, but it's going to be a darn good show. Let me tell you why. Not because of me. Mark Griffin will join us here in just a few moments. We'll talk college basketball with him. At the top of the hour, Boston Red Sox outfielder Adam Duvall will join us. Adam lives in Nashville. Excuse me. Some of you may not know that. He lives in Nashville. I will tell you now that I think he's going to have a monster season with the Red Sox, so much so that I think Atlanta will regret not re-signing him. It won't be the first time they've regretted not signing him. A couple of years ago, they let him go to the Marlins and then got him back at the trade deadline. And we will go a little bit of chat room to close out the show. It's going to be hard to do a bet of the day because as we tape this, I can't see any lines for the weekend. So I'm guaranteed to not have a losing weekend. Billy, how do you feel about truth in broadcasting?
George, it's kind of funny how you just brought it out there, but I like it. I like it. We don't have to hide anything, and I am ready for the weekend though.
Yes,
it's going to be fun.
I'm sure you are, because you're leaving town.
Yes,
I'd like for you to remember that. Do not embarrass the show with your behavior.
I would never do anything of that sort, George.
No, I worry that you would.
No, you know me well enough.
I don't know. Let's check in with Michael over at Cowboy Central. Michael, how are you today?
Doing great. I like the full transparency with the viewers. There's nothing to hide. I love it.
Yeah.
You like the sweater game today, George?
Yeah.
Because yours, that's a nice looking sweater there.
Thank you.
It is a good looking sweater.
It's about 30 years old.
And if you're watching, you'll see it on yesterday's show as well. So.
Wow. Okay. That's nice.
Full transparency.
So since we're not doing an update, I want to do a little bit of a topic that came up on Wednesday's show, and it involved arena football coming back. And, you know, there's USFL and there's XFL. And, you know, I used to believe that a spring football league would work. And in fact, Watson Brown and I did a show one day where we basically highlighted the cities that we believed it would work in. But more and more, I've come to change my opinion. And here's the reason why.
Tell me.
Okay. Let's say, for instance, one of these leagues starts in April. Okay. And they're touting that they've got primetime games on NBC and this, that, and the other. And the weather by then has sort of broken. And now you're getting into the 70s and the 80s. I just do not believe anymore that people in love of football are going to choose to sit at home and watch Birmingham against the Rhine Fire or the Scottish Claymores or whoever the hell they are. I just don't think. Claymores. Yeah, that was the old, what was that? NFL Europe?
There's no way that was a real name.
Oh, sure it was in NFL Europe.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway, I just don't think that people, even in their love of football, are going to sit there and say for their weekend plans, I have got to see that Birmingham game against San Antonio. I just don't think so.
Okay. Let me I don't disagree, but let me throw this at you as well. Do you feel like that's the bigger factor, or do you feel like the factor that these teams that come in, there's in the communities, they go about an inch deep? I mean, there's no connection of pride with the community. There's no connection of, I really want to be behind this team, because, and I mean, they just pop up and they go away. How much of that do you feel like plays into the whole excitement of no one knows these teams? No one knows who they are. There's no history, tradition behind them. Buy it or sell it.
Well, let me take where you're going. There was a rumor out there for a while that the thing last summer in Birmingham was going to bring a team to Nashville. And the rumor around it was, Jeff Fisher coached, I think it was the Michigan Panthers, and they were thinking about moving that team to Nashville. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I get the fact that Jeff is a draw. He is certainly a draw in this community. All these years later, very well thought of, very respected. No doubt about that.
Okay.
But if you're going to make that work in these leagues that just pop up, then you've got to do territorial players. I've got to have some Tennessee. I got to have some Vandy. I probably have to have some Kentucky. The players on the roster come from everywhere. I don't believe works.
Yeah. So you think there is some merit to that? If there's got to be a little bit of seeded in the community for it to work. I mean, tell me about when Sperduto was the coach. When Pat Sperduto was the coach, it felt like, with the way that I've heard you talk about it.
That's a different deal.
Yeah, but it felt like the community was it more behind that?
First of all, different day and time.
Sure.
Pat was the second head coach of the Cats.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was going on was that there was, I guess I'd use the word, a novelty to the new arena. We had a downtown arena, and the Cats were one of the first to be a tenant in there.
Yeah.
And apparently the decision to put games on Friday night was a monster.
Yeah.
Good decision. It was, in my mind, for a lot of people, an excuse to have a beer.
Yep.
An excuse to have a little night out on the town. It would start with the Cats.
Yeah.
And the Cats made it fun. They played a lot of music between plays. The NFL, by the way, has started to copy that. They had the hot tub, and they just had, people really got into that.
Sure.
But I believe that really what went on was that it had about a 5-year shelf life.
Okay.
After about 5 years, people were like, been there, done that, and the Cats moved on.
Yeah. And what was that? Was that when the Titans were there? I mean, what year was that?
The Titans were moving in here.
Okay.
Now, I don't have it in front of me, the exact years, but I can remember there was a Cats playoff game on a Saturday morning, and the Titans were playing a preseason game that night.
Yeah.
So there was some overlap. And at one point, Bud Adams bought into the Cats.
Yeah.
And so you had a little bit of that synergy. I just felt like Cats, by the way, were 1997 to 2001, the original Cats.
Yeah.
That was the group that really drew very well.
Yeah.
But a lot of these outdoor leagues that tout, hey, we've got Fox televising and we've got NBC televising. I just don't believe when the weather gets nice that a lot of males, which is what football predominantly is, although women certainly get into it as well. I just don't think that they're sitting there going, dadgum, Birmingham, San Antonio. I've got to stop everything for that. It doesn't have the feel of Philly, San Francisco, or Kansas City, and it also helps that those playoff games are in horrible weather in January. People are going to be inside.
George, you mentioned the music, how it was a big part of the Nashville Cats and their organization Tim McGraw was a minority investor.
He sure was.
Wow.
And when the Cats scored a touchdown, they played, I like it, I love it. And I'm guessing that's how the Preds adopted that.
Yeah.
I guess the Cats started that around that time. So that's probably a lot of it. 05, kind of early 2000s Nashville, it was probably a big draw because Preds and Titans were very new, very young. I know the Titans had that success early on. But there was probably kind of a football fever a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that there isn't now, there always will be. But there's you got the XFL coming back, right? And you've got other leagues now that the AFL, the Arena Football League, will be challenged. It's not the only one.
The Arena has a better shot than the other two.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah. I think the other two, when you see on SportsCenter, XFL's coming back, I don't think people jump out of their seats going,
No.
oh, yeah. I
No.
think they go, what else you got? Kind of reaction.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. That's kind of where I was getting to, George, is I feel like the XFL is just knockoff NFL, honestly. And so when you have Arena, it's enough of a twist that it makes people say, man, that'd be really fun to see somebody get hit over against a wall and fly. It's just different. And it's got to be in places like a Birmingham that doesn't have a professional team, that there's actually a chance to kind of replicate what the Cats had for 5 years, where people are excited about it. I mean, if there's an NFL team anywhere near that location, it's just not going to work. But I guess that's what I was asking. I wonder if it's more of a seasonal thing, or if it's more of it's got to be different than just your normal football, a little bit rules different, and in areas that really there's nothing for them to rally around.
I think that's what'll separate it, and I think it can work, probably not to the level that it did, George, back in the day, but because of the style, kind of the up close and personal type of atmosphere where you're right there. It's like kind of like hockey football where,
Sure.
Watson said that a couple days ago, he said getting checked against the board. So it's different. And I think people will like it.
Okay. So that's how we start the show with no update. We've been honest with you all. This show is a taped one, but it's still going to be really good. When we come back, former University of Tennessee basketball star Mark Griffin, for his weekly Friday visit, even though this may not have been taped on Friday, but he's going to give you some theories about Tennessee basketball, and some of this coming in the wake of the loss down in Gainesville to the Florida Gators. Stick around. This is going to be good.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Okay, more truth in broadcasting as we welcome all of you back on this Friday edition of the show. Truth taped on Thursday. Just being honest. It could not have happened without the cooperation of Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee basketball star. Look at him. Nice sport coat. What's the story?
I have a day job, George. I have to keep my day job.
Right. Got to look respectable. You might need to teach these two what that's all about.
Well, like you said, you got your 30-year-old sweater. It's what you do. It's what I do. And just keep moving forward, George. Glad to be on here, though.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of theories. Obviously, you spend a lot of time in the college basketball world. And, of course, your team is the University of Tennessee. A little bit of a disappointment Wednesday night that they couldn't go to Gainesville and close the deal against Florida. First of all, give me some of your reactions to that game, and then we'll get into maybe a Mark Griffin theory or two.
Sure, and this will precede what I'll get into more in depth. But when you look at this Florida team and how they approached this game against UT was, I think, great coaching strategy. You looked at a Florida team that went slow tempo, and Tennessee over the season has had great success when they've had an up-tempo game. But when the tempo has been slowed, guys, and looking at Tennessee's losses, it's not gone so well. And what Florida did a great job of doing was they made sure they got the ball to Castleton every opportunity they could. Their big 6'11" inside player played fantastic, looked like his first team All-SEC. He was able to really maneuver around either the free throw line or close to the paint, and was able to drive. He was too fast for Plavich. He even out-muscled, even though he's not that big, Adu. And then just able to make things happen. It's a fantastic passer. And they were able to spread their guards out amongst the three-point range and knock down some shots. But I think by slowing the tempo really helped Florida. And what you're going to see with some of these other teams, George, that we'll look at during UT's losses, is that I think the scouting report against Tennessee's guards, especially, which their three main guards are all shooting under 40% from the field, which is a low number. And what you're seeing is the term we use in basketball is hugging your man. And what that really means is being an arm length, extension from the guy you're guarding. And these teams are going to start hugging your man more to not allow them to have the freedom of movement. And when they are able to get a shot, it's not as great a percentage shot or someone's in their face. And you saw that against Florida as well. And that's why, you saw between Vescovi and Josiah James, they shot 4 of 23 from the field, guys. I mean, you're not going to win games, regardless if, Tennessee did out-rebound Florida. That stat is irrelevant. And then when you look at Zakai being the leading scorer with 15 points, but it took them 6 of 19. Those are your three main guards. And if they're all shooting under 40% and you're really going out and pressuring those guys, you've got to drive the ball inside. One last thing that I wanted to mention I thought was so important during this game. First, it may have been even the first possession, guys. Tennessee got to the free throw line and went 1 for 2. The rest of the half did not get a free throw attempt.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is you're not penetrating. So when your shots aren't hitting, what do? You're always coached, drive to the basket, get fouled, go to the line, build that momentum. Well, what Tennessee did, stuck to the perimeter game, no inside game, no free throw shots the first half, and the game was pretty much dictated in that first half. So I think those are some of the keys to this upset.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to throw a theory back at you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that is hard about conference play is that all the teams know the book. You know, Michael White didn't cure cancer with this particular game plan, but he executed it beautifully. And by the way, I thought his team played it like it was their Super Bowl.
It's actually Todd Golden.
Todd Golden, you're right. What am I saying? Michael White, thank you.
He's at Georgia.
He's at Georgia. So he probably has the same game plan. Golden gave it to him. But Mark, my theory is that by the time you reach February, everybody knows everybody else's strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
So what Golden did, everybody else is going to do. And it's harder for a team like Tennessee in conference. But then when they get out of conference play and they get to NCAA tournament, those teams don't know as much. And sometimes there's a little more freedom when you get to March than there is in February. You buy that?
I do. But what you're going to see is coaches and staff, they're going to review a lot of game tape. And a lot of times, George, they'll review the games that you lost to see what competitive advantage a team can take into a game. And I looked at the 4 games that Tennessee has lost. And what really stood out to me was the 3-point shooting percentage for all the 4 games combined, which is Colorado, Arizona, Kentucky, and Florida. Tennessee shot 22.5% from the 3-point line. And they shot over almost 28 a game. That's not their style. Now, one may say, oh, they're shooting 3-pointers because they're down, they have to catch up. That may be, but you still got to get good shots. So that's a huge area. And just to put this in perspective of how low that 22.5% is, Tennessee's known for a great defensive basketball team. They're leading the nation in 3-point defensive 3-point percentage, I should say.
Right.
And it's
Which
about
means that you're going to have these 5 and 6 minute gaps where the other team doesn't get anything done.
Right. So if you look at being the number 1 defensive 3-point percentage team at 22%, you look at Tennessee's losses, they're shooting 22%. That stands out to say, look, red flag, bing, bing, bing. We've got to work on this.
Okay, let me try this on you. What's the solution? Who is it that Barnes has to bring in, in for a meeting and say, look, if we're really going to be a 1 seed and we're really going to be a national title contender, your butt has to go from here to here. And you need to understand that. And Barnes will do that.
No doubt.
Who is it?
Well, I think it's a combination, if I might add.
A group meeting.
Well, individually, but I'm going to throw it out to 3 individuals, if you don't mind. And they're going to be different talks. First one, Triple J, Josiah James, to make sure that he continues to be a coach on the court. Because to me, guys, he is the glue. He is the main factor, I feel, how this team will fare moving forward and into the tournament because of his experience. He's a great defensive player, had a, really down night. That happens. Got to keep shooting, but he's got to be the one behind the scenes in the locker room when they're eating at the cafeteria, keep these guys upbeat, keep focusing on the team. And I think Barnes pretty much has a meeting with James, and James tells him, hey, I got you, coach. Now, my second meeting is with Julian Phillips. Here's a guy that projected to be first-round draft pick, 5-star player. When I watch him, guys, I'm wondering, do you love the game enough to really get in there and bang? I don't see him banging. And what I mean by that is really intense effort on both sides of the court. He seems a little cool to me, if I might say. And the guy's going to be in the NBA. So, great talent. But I would like to see a little bit more energy on both ends of the court, especially on the offensive end, because he's not a go-to guy. I would challenge him that, hey, you need to get 2 to 3 more offensive rebounds a game than what you're doing. Start there, not take more three-pointers or work on, the 15-foot mid-range shot. But let's get you to the basket. Let's help out these big guys. And the third one, the most perplexing player on this team that's a head scratcher is Kamwa, is to make sure he gets rid of any mental issues that goes on in his head during the game and just focus on the task at hand. If you watch him, he has not made a foul yet. He's worse than Grant Williams when he played. And he needs to focus on what we call the next play. When one happens, you move on, because he's really picked up his game. Don't get me wrong. But he's got to be, I think, even more consistent for the role that he plays. Doesn't need to score 15 and 9, but just needs to be more consistent.
Mark Griffin with some great analysis of what's going on with University of Tennessee basketball right now. Now, 35 years ago, gosh, is that right? When I first met Mark Griffin, this is what he looked like.
Oh, my.
Oh, look at the hair.
This is when you made fun of my orange shoes, George, at the camp, which you talked about a little bit last week, but you failed to mention the weapons, the famous Larry Bird commercial.
Which was? Mark, help me with that, the Larry Bird reference.
Well, it was he did a famous commercial, the Choose Your Weapon, he and Magic Johnson, and we wore weapons. They were a heavy Nike.
Oh, I got you.
Converse shoes, excuse me, we wore Converse back then. And when I met you, you made the comment, boy, that's an ugly shoe, or something that reference. I'm like, excuse me, who are you? And
if only you had known.
I wore the orange and white, at the Vanderbilt camp. Probably not the best thing to do.
Stay in Newton camp.
That's how we met.
Okay, so let's transition over to Vandy for a second.
Sure.
I have gotten the opinions of the college basketball insiders, Lee Fowler and Ron Bargatze, but I want yours. If a Power 5 team plays another Power 5 team and loses by 57, does that mean that team quit?
Oh, there's no doubt. And I've never been in a 57-point loss, thank goodness. Been in many 20-plus losses, and that's tough. And I can mention that, have I witnessed myself and teammates go, man, we just can't wait, this game's over? Yes. You won't hear people interview and say that, George, but we can look back now and you're just ready to get the game over. And you're just sitting there going, man, we're going to get drilled tomorrow in practice. You're already thinking about the next day and how hard the coaches are going to be on you. But yes, when you get down such a large margin, coach can say, hey, one possession at a time, let's cut the gap. I mean, they're going to say whatever they can, but you're just sitting there saying, we're getting our butt killed. When's this over? So very embarrassing. And that game sticks with you. I hate to say it, but I think it'll be really interesting to see how Vanderbilt bounces back, because a game like that, once again, stays with you. You try to block it out of your mind. You're in your classroom. Guys are, making fun of you, or they're staring at you like, I know we got drilled. So, it stays on your mind. But on the other side of that, can it motivate them to bounce back and say, this is it? And that's going to be on the players. Once again, someone's got to be a leader. And what I don't know about this team, George, I love y'all's opinion. I don't know who Vanderbilt's leader is on the court. Who's the one that grabs them by the jersey at the free throw line when there's maybe a and one play, gets in their face or encourages them on the bench. I haven't really seen that stand out leadership. Maybe you guys have. I'd love to hear. And you need that, and they're going to need that moving forward. But
yeah,
you have to earn being a leader. You just can't rah-rah it if no one respects you.
So, Mark, here's what I think, and I want to get your opinion here. If this continues, at some point, Jerry Stackhouse is going to get fired. They have not been relevant to any extent for the 4 years he's been here. They haven't come anywhere close to sniffing an NCAA tournament bid. And so they now have a long 5 to 6 year history of really being irrelevant in the SEC. But the one thing I thought he had to hang his hat on was that his teams always played hard. Now, they found some amazing ways to lose, just as they did last Saturday when they were up 9 middle of the second half against A&M down in College Station.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at isn't that where Stackhouse on Thursday had to have a team meeting that was the team meeting of all meetings to say, okay, this is unacceptable. You all quit on me. Now I need to know from you what's going on with y'all. Are you prepared to go south the rest of the year? If you are, you're probably going to be gone. I'm probably going to get fired. Talk to me about what Stackhouse had to do on Thursday when they got back.
There's no doubt there should have been a meeting with the Mines as far as the whole team at some point, a private meeting, not to get out in social media or anything, and let the players vet. Let them discuss. No holds barred. Get it out. It's not personal. It's business. Someone's slacking. Say, hey, you're not doing this. You just don't want it to be an article like Sheboy wrote, had out with Kentucky several weeks ago. You want to have it in-house. But at the same time, though, George, Stackhouse has got to take some ownership, too, in this and say, I've got to do a better job. And I don't know him that well, but I wonder if he's the type of coach that would say, I've got to do a better job, or does he try to persuade the players to think it's just on them? Because as players regress, they want to feel that the whole institute of coaching staff, support staff, everyone's in the same boat. And if you're not, it causes division. And that's the worst thing that can happen for a program like they're going through right now. And it could only get worse if it's not addressed. So it definitely needs to be addressed. Was it because of pride? Don't know, but it better have been.
Well, you have hit on a huge issue, Billy. In his time here, and admittedly, I'm not a big fan of his for a variety of reasons, but you brought it up a few days ago. You seldom hear him say, this is on me.
Mm-hmm.
It's always aimed at the players.
Yeah. And Mark, I brought it up, I think, after one of their bad losses. It was either Grambling or Southern Miss. And, he was talking about this guy, Tyron Lawrence, had too many turnovers. This guy wasn't rebounding. We've been trying to hammer home with him. There has never been, not one time, him taking the blame, taking it on his shoulders, saying, I need to be better as a head coach. I'm the leader of this program. I'll take the blame. I don't think he's done it once. And so that's what we're getting at. And I think you hit it on the head there of where's the leadership from the players. Well, there's not really a leader in the head coaching position right now. So where are the players going saying, hey, where's my guidance? You know, so I think it's hard for the players to take hold of the program when they don't have a coach that has enough pride in the program.
Yeah, and on top of that, guys, I'm not for people to go back and say, hey, this is what happened 20 years ago, blah, 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 I'm the greatest. But I think during times of adversity, it wouldn't hurt Coach Stackhouse as well to say, hey, I've sat where you guys are. I have had bad defeats. I have played badly. And this is how I got through it. This is how we worked together. Because they all know he played in the pros. I mean, it just Google these days. They don't remember them, but you Google it. But for him to really relate to this team, he's going to have to make it more personal. And he can bring up and may have his NBA experience or when he was coaching in the G League of bad defeats and how maybe there was division amongst the staff, and this is how they worked it out. Because the main thing you want, if you're gonna lose, and I spent a couple of years losing at UT, you want to go down together because you read the paper, it's negative. You're in a classroom, it's negative. You get home, people are like, hey, why aren't you winning? But if you got the backing of your players and your coaching staff, it makes it somewhat more relieving. You'll never accept it, but it comforts it some knowing that at least everyone is on the same page and the coach has your back. And that's why you're playing collegiate basketball, is to compete, do your best. Sometimes the outcomes just aren't the best, but you want your coach on your side.
Tremendous first segment with Mark Griffin breaking down both Tennessee and Vanderbilt. After the break, Michael Cindric will take over. He'll get Mark into his SEC rankings. I'll guarantee you, as a Big 12 guy, he's going to bring up that the Big 12 just boat raced the SEC. That and more when we come back. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East. And their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. If you're a college basketball fan, and hopefully you are, the last segment, Mark Griffin had some tremendous stuff Michael, no pressure on you, but
Man,
I expect more of the same.
yeah. Well, you had some good questions too, to your credit. Mark, I guess before we get right to the Big 12, talk to me a little bit about, you see Alabama, and in their last 2 games, it's been basically a 90-point swing of you get drilled by about 33 and then you win by about 57, the next game. And talk to me a little bit about, is that some glaring, oh my gosh, Alabama's a fraud? Or is this is in this Big 12 SEC games, that was kind of a break, a breather for Alabama before they just kick it back off with SEC play?
I think it was a revenge game. And George made a good point earlier about SEC play, people really knowing what you do inside and out. And that's one of the things you don't know going into the Big 12, SEC competition that they had. I mean, you watch a little film, you may know some guys from travel ball when you were in high school, but you really don't know the ins and outs like the coaches would like. You just don't have time to prepare for it. You only have a few days. So with Oklahoma just drilling Alabama and Grant Sherfield going off for 30, Alabama didn't expect that, obviously, but to give Alabama a lot of credit to come out and what I would just call a revenge game, or, to say, hey, we're going to get back focused on SEC play. Because will that Oklahoma loss hurt them? I mean, 1 seed, 2 seed, I don't really see the big difference. I do think it's important. I know we'll get into this more as the season goes on. The difference between, a 2 versus a 3 or 4 seed, but there's still a lot of the season left. You're not going to see undefeated teams. Someone mentioned to me just recently about, hey, talking about a team losing. I'm like, we're going into can't believe they lost. I'm like, teams aren't going to be undefeated, but it's how you bounce back. And going back to Alabama, give Coach Oates credit and the players credit, because they bounce back. And they bounce back strong, and I expect that to continue. Now, do I expect Alabama to win every game moving forward? No, I think there could be upsets.
Sure.
But they're off to a really good start after that loss against Oklahoma.
Mark, talk to me, just stay on there, but more from a philosophy standpoint. Talk to me about, are you a believer in this idea of a bad loss being really helpful? I think about, what Nate Oates probably could use that game for as an example, where it's not going to hurt Alabama long-term, probably, when it comes to, they might be a 1 or 2 seed, but the idea of they can use that as a lesson going forward of, listen, there's not one team you can overlook. Talk to me a little bit just about, are you a believer in this idea of these losses can sometimes be beneficial for some of these really good teams?
I'm never a proponent to lose a game, period. I do feel, because no one goes in and people may debate this. I've heard this elsewhere where they'll say, well, the coach really didn't mind if they got beat because they can learn from it. Or this is good to lose now going into the tournament. See, I don't believe that. I believe mindset of every student athlete, coaching staff that I've been around my life, and probably most everyone who's listening, is you go into every game prepared to win. Now, you can win ugly, but I don't think you lose pretty.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, can they gain things from a loss that could help them? Yes, you can learn. You can learn probably more from a loss. I just don't know or believe that it's a good thing. Now, that is debatable for certain people, but I just know from my interactions with people who played in the NBA level through middle school, it's like you're taught to win, because that's how you're measured, wins, losses.
Right.
But I do think that you can learn a lot from a loss to get you back on track, because when you lose, there's probably more things that can be pointed out to be fixed or to be
Sure.
looked at. Because when you win, you probably have good statistics. Players probably played well together. A couple guys stood out that maybe hasn't in the past. You may have more consistency. But when you lose, it's like, wow, what really stands out to you? Like I mentioned in the game against Florida, was their guard shooting, the three-point shooting, and their guards' overall field goal percentage. Those are glaring aspects of a game that has to be looked at, or you're going to keep losing if you don't fix it.
Yep. 100%. Billy, could you pull up Mark's rankings? Would love to take a look at those real quick. Mark, talk to me, I guess. Let's start on this first column on the left, these first 7. Talk to me a little bit about your placement, anything that might be different, but also, it seems like as the year is going forward, and obviously you're doing this every single week with us, it seems like it's sifting out a little bit as to maybe a little bit closer, maybe not exactly, but a little bit closer to what you would have expected. But talk to me a little bit on the left of just kind of your thought process and these 1 through 7 rankings.
No, I think you're right on point, Michael. I look at that top 7, and I really probably categorize it into the top 6. Texas A&M to me is more of an outlier, just because of the schedule they played. They've got a lot more, I would say, a tougher SEC schedule moving forward, and I think that may move them back down to the right side, maybe, with maybe Mississippi State or Florida coming over to the left side. The good thing is it's fluid, changes every week. But I think you've got a really strong top 6 as far as closeness of talent. I mean, Alabama definitely stands out, I think, far above the rest of the programs right now. I'm a little perplexed by Auburn, and I really debated on moving them to 5 versus 4 because I'm a huge fan of Kobe Brown. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Dennis Gates and what he's done in his initial season at Missouri with the enthusiasm, especially at home. And I think that's really going to come into play, this last part of the SEC, a lot of their home games against top talent. And then on the, moving over the right side, if you don't mind, I think you've got 5 teams battling for the first night of the SEC tournament. And yes, I have Vanderbilt 11, but I think, it's going to be looking at them and Georgia to see who doesn't have to play in that first night, which I think is important. It's an extra night, a lot of minutes, fatigue, playing it, late at night, and that's an adjustment. One team I'm really not. I don't have my arms around Mississippi State. I know Lenardi loves them. I've seen them play in person on TV many times, and I just don't think they have scores. Tolu Smith's their best player. He's their scorer. Other than that, they're really, really up in the air. So I have them mainly on the right side right now. But who knows what happens? That's a great thing about college basketball that we've seen, and not just the SEC, but Big 12 and all over the country, is you got to be prepared every night, home or away.
Mark, how much of it, when you look at these and you think about the SEC tournament, there's going to be one team, especially if some of these teams get into the NCAA tournament, probably from about 4 through 8 or 9. I'm not saying all of them will make the tournament, the big dance, but one of those teams is probably going to break through, and everyone's going to look back and say, oh my gosh, how did they pull this off? I look at a team like Florida and a guy like Castleton, who is so dominant. Describe a little bit, when you've got a guy like that, just how much of a equalizer that can be when you've got a guy that you can go to just go. I mean, you look at Anthony Black for Arkansas. He's another one that could just so dangerous to take over a game. Would it surprise you at all to see one of those teams creep up either in the SEC or NCAA tournament just because they've got a guy who can just is flat out better than everyone else?
It doesn't surprise me because of the leadership on the court, the enthusiasm that each of the players you mentioned with Black and Castleton, those are 2 great examples of someone that says, hey, jump on my back. I'm going to get you to the promised land. And I give Castleton a lot of credit. he irritates me as an opponent fan because of his enthusiasm, but at the same time, it's contagious, and I actually admire him for the enthusiastic approach he takes to a game. He is so versatile that it'll be interesting to see him play against Kentucky and what they do. If Kentucky brings out Sheway, or when he's out of the game, are they going to have Jacob Toppin on him? Does Kentucky run a zone against Florida, which was interesting? Tennessee never tried that approach. I was a little curious if they would, but that's really not Coach Barnes' way of coaching for the most part. But I think watching this Kentucky-Florida game, it'll be really interesting to see how Coach Calipari goes about his strategies on how to maintain Castleman. Because as I mentioned, with these players, as you mentioned, Black, they're going to have the ball in their hand. They're go-to guys.
Yep.
And that can really make a difference. And it obviously has for Florida. And if they can continue to have the success they just had recently, then they're going to propel north in the rankings.
And last one for you. I just want your thoughts on Big 12 SEC play that weekend. One of the things that I thought that I was thinking about outside of Kentucky and Kansas was, man, the advantage of home court and how that can really play. I mean, you look at Oklahoma caught fire, West Virginia caught fire. There were several teams that they look electric when they play at home.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, they look a little flatter on the road. But just give me your thoughts on the week. You can address that one, or any other thoughts that you kind of had after you watched that entire weekend play out.
Great question. And I watched as much of all the games that I could. And the one that really stood out to me was I looked at some of the lower tier teams of the Big 12, like, believe it or not, the Oklahoma, the West Virginia, and to see them play so well and have huge wins, that solidified to everyone in the country that the Big 12 is the best conference top to bottom. I mean, it is undeniable. And I was a little surprised to see Auburn not win at West Virginia, even though they fought back till the very end. And West Virginia practically wanted to give it away. And then see Oklahoma dominate Alabama. And then what happens? They're playing at home against Oklahoma State and laying egg. And for the people that follow Memphis basketball, Musa Sisse, I think that's exactly how you pronounce it, had a huge game and 18 points to upset Oklahoma at home. So it just shows you never know. Big 12 is battle top to bottom. And as we saw with the rankings in the SEC, you've got some teams that aren't up to par. Mm-hmm. They may get fortunate and maybe win a home game, but I don't think you're going to see the bottom 5 teams win many away games unless it's against another bottom 5 team. In the Big 12, you're seeing these lower tiered teams go on the road and win. It's amazing.
Mark, before we end it, give me 30, 45 seconds on this. Bruce Pearl comes to town tomorrow, and that's always emotional. In Knoxville, is he more popular than Rick Barnes or vice versa?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it goes back. I hate to bring up football, but you had the Phil Fulmer, Johnny Majors, who's more popular, and it's interesting when you talk about Coach Pearl and Coach Barnes, who's the favorite. I think it's divided. I think it leans towards Coach Barnes. But here's the thing. Coach Pearl turned that program around. It was dead. I mean, even with Conzo, the fans were not there consistently. He sold that program. He went to every Civitan club, you name any type of club in Knoxville, begging people to come watch. And you know what else he did? He had players that played hard. And Tennessee was so used to the O'Neal years, the Houston years, even Conzo with the talent, but not playing hard, the excitement of giving it your all. Fans wanted to pay for that in Knoxville. So he really opened the door, Coach I feel Coach Pearl did to help this transition to where we are with Coach Barnes. And I think Coach Barnes has done an excellent job. People are going to say, well, look at him in the tournament. But you know what? They're getting to the tournament. They're winning. Their kids are graduating. They're good kids. And let's see how he does this year. But I think it's going to depend on who you talk to. But I think it does sway towards Coach Barnes because he's there now. But you've got to give Coach Pearl a lot of credit for what he's done to build the base.
Tremendous stuff. First of all, thank you for the cooperation to do this off of schedule. Great stuff. Enjoy your hoops this weekend. You going up there?
Thanks for having me.
Are you going to Knoxville?
I'll be there.
Okay. Sounds good. Take care, Mark.
Right. My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Mark Griffin with an incredible couple of segments of college basketball. When we come back, stat of the day, and then we'll be joined by Boston Red Sox outfielder Adam Duvall, who I believe is going to kill it at Fenway.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Once the All-Star game is over, the Nashville Predators will have another of their college nights. Tuesday, February the 7th, Tennessee State University front and center stage when the Vegas Golden Knights come to town. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. The College Night Series ticket package includes a Predator game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/college nights.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show on this beautiful Friday here in Nashville. It's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street, Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call also at 931-492-4304. That's 931-492-4304. All right, George, no Watson today. You're on an island.
I know it.
I think you can get this one.
Billy, really do you think I can get this one?
You know, I haven't taken a look at it yet, George.
We're Tom Brady themed again today.
But I'm gonna read it off here. Here we go. NFL again. How many NFL franchises have more total playoff wins than Tom Brady?
Right off the bat, it would be easy to go with the number 0.0. Daniel Simpson Day has no grade point average. All courses are incomplete.
That's your favorite movie.
I love that movie. Let me say this. The number is in single digits.
Yes, it is. You're correct.
I'm going to say, I'm just going to throw out a random number, 3.
Hold on. Let's go. Before you guess, are there some teams? I mean, the point is for you to kind of say, okay, which teams would have more if there are?
San Fran might be, because they so dominated the late 80s and the 90s.
And they are.
Ding, ding, ding.
They are one of
Ding,
them.
ding, ding. Okay. Buffalo got to a lot of Super Bowls. They got to 4 and didn't win any of them, but that means they had to win 3. Whatever.
You're doing good.
He really enjoyed doing that, didn't he?
Can't even get the sentence out.
It's been so long on Dallas that I don't think Dallas is one of them.
Dallas is one of them.
Dallas is one of them?
They are.
Wow. Okay, well, when you think back to the Landry days,
sure.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't think Kansas City's got more. Because this run that they've made to get in the playoffs,
right?
Before that, there was a long drought.
You were correct on that. Kansas City's not.
Okay, I'm going to go with 3. Let's just see what we got.
Dallas, San Fran, and
someone else.
Someone else.
One of them's going to probably make you laugh a little bit.
It's been so long with the Redskins that even the 70s and 80s dominance may be hard to get them in there.
Yeah.
But as a wild card, I'm going to go Redskins.
Okay.
And I don't care if they're the Commanders or not.
Here it is. It's 5.
Pittsburgh should have been. Yeah, that was stupid on my end.
You got San Fran and Dallas,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and New England, the 3 you're missing.
Now, here's the thing.
Hold on a second. We're going to have some fun. Billy, anything in that graphic that looks a little goofy?
Maybe a little spelling.
Oh, did I?
Friday spell check.
No, it's Friday. We'll
Michael,
give him the
did you
benefit
do
of the
this
doubt.
one?
That's on me. That's not
Pittsburgh has an H in it.
Listen, that was late last night.
There's
My
a
eyes
reason
were
I
halfway.
There's a reason I say let's see what Michael's got.
Yeah, let's do.
Put it on now.
So it's 5.
But I'll say this: the most. But Brady's got 35 wins. The most is 37. That a team's got. So it's like 4 of them have 36. And
Isn't
I think
that
New England,
amazing?
I mean, he's basically has more than everyone else.
He's a franchise without paying the franchise fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, without an H. Although it looks fine. I mean,
it doesn't look different.
I think they should petition the
English language
Wordwell
is
to get rid of
stupid.
the H.
Yeah, no question.
If
Okay.
out of the 5, Pittsburgh is the one that you can kind of get away with misspelling a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know about any of the
Why
others.
is there even an H? You don't say Pittsburgh.
You're just going to see Pitt from now on.
Pittsburgh.
Okay, so we have reached the 3:00 hour, and we welcome all of you in. We've been very honest that this show, it's taped. Broadcast honesty.
Have you ever done that before, George? Admit that a show is taped?
I don't know if I have or not.
It's,
I
it's
don't
kind of
see-
refreshing.
Yeah, but I don't see any point in hiding it. I mean,
No,
it's
it's
still
interesting.
It's still a good show. So, in just a moment, you're going to hear from Boston Red Sox outfielder Adam Duvall, who is a really good guy. Participated in the first Plaster and Friends bowling night a year and a half ago, and everybody really liked him. This is a guy that's very easy to root for, and some of you are out there saying, "Well, of course, George, he was a Brave, and you root for him." But I'll bet after you hear this interview that you may root for him as well. I'll tell you this: when I first saw the signing, I started thinking, okay, Adam Duvall, strong as an ox, can hit a ball a mile, has a chance to hit 35 or 40 bombs at Fenway. Do not be surprised if he has a monster season. Here's Adam Duvall. Promised earlier, we're joined by the newest of Boston Red Sox, and that is outfielder Adam Duvall, who joins us on the show. Adam, first of all, congratulations. How did Boston happen?
Well, it came together late there. As you know, we're getting pretty close to spring training, and my agents were working diligently with the teams, and mainly to show them that I'm healthy. ready to go. And so, yeah, I mean, we just, kept punching the clock, kept contacting teams and trying to figure out, where the best spot for me to land would be and what teams were interested. And, it came together late, and I couldn't be more excited about being in Boston.
Okay, being the smart aleck that I am, I texted you last week and said you were going to kick butt up there with that short left field wall. Did that play into it at all?
I mean, I enjoy hitting there. I've enjoyed hitting there in the past. Hopefully I continue to enjoy hitting there. So, you definitely look at park factors and where you've had success and where you like to play. And just the city of Boston itself, with the fan base being, super excited and, very passionate about the game is makes it a fun place to play. And, so I think there's many factors that go into it. And, like I said, I'm super excited to be in Boston, to be a Red Sox. And, I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Okay, I'm doing this one by memory and not something that's in front of me. Did you not have a 3-homer game there as a Brave?
I did. Yes. That was one of the 3-homer games in a week that week. So that was a big week for me. But yeah, it started there in Boston, and it was a pretty cool feeling, especially to do it there because it's such a storied franchise, and so yes, 3 homers in one game.
Okay, now obviously the Braves fan in me is sad on one piece of this, happy for you on the other. When did you give up the concept that you might come back to Atlanta?
We kind of lost communication there at the end of the off season. So I kind of took a hint. So, they signed a couple players, for the 23 season, and, the talks just didn't really progress. So, I kind of took the hint there and, was just looking for the next place that I was going to, continue my career in. And I don't think it could be a better fit than Boston. I mean, like I said before, I'm super excited. My family's excited. And, hopefully we can go in there and surprise a lot of people and, play our tails off and win some baseball games.
Yeah, you're going to force me to become a Red Sox fan. Here's what I want to talk to you about, Adam. You're a former National League home run champion. So it's not as though you've exactly had a chopped liver career. You've been a National League All-Star from your days in Cincinnati, and yet you've also had to go through tough times. And I remember one of the things that struck me before I ever met you was what I kept reading the year you got stuck in Gwinnett, that you never said a peep. You never complained. Where does that come from?
Well, I think the biggest part for me was that I wanted to go down there and get right and get back to the player that I truly believed that I was. So, for me, it was very humbling, as baseball, the game is. There's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be trials and tribulations, and there's going to be good moments, and there's going to be horrible moments. And I would like to think that I've had some really great moments and some really bad moments. And, but that was a moment that I just kind of stepped back and said, look, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to get right. I had an unbelievable staff around me, people that were helping me, and I didn't want to go down and be that, veteran that was bitter and, made everybody's day a little bit worse. And, I wanted to go down there and help guys out and, be a joy to be around. And, with me, it was about showing up and getting the work in and just doing everything I could to get back to the major league level. And, I mean, it was a humbling experience. It's not something that you would wish to go through, but it's something that I did, and I'm grateful for, and I made it back to the big league level and had more success. And I put a lot of it on just showing up and working. And my dad instilled that in me. He went to work whether his back was hurting, his hip was hurting. It didn't matter. He showed up and punched the clock, and I think that's where I really get that from. And like I said, it was a humbling experience.
You had an unbelievable answer to it. One of the things I learned as a kid coming out of college, when I got the chance to do AAA minor league baseball, is there is nothing worse than the veteran who comes down who is pissed off to be there.
Right. It is. And you see it all the time, because you don't want to be in the minor leagues once you've had that taste of success and you've had that taste of the big leagues. But at the end of the day, it's a humbling game. You're going to go through some trials and tribulations. And, at the end of the day, it's important to be a good teammate and just to be a joy to be around. And hopefully I was, so I'll let other people speak on that. But I just tried to help people out when I could, and just show up and be a professional and go about my business the right way.
Here's the radio talk show host in me. A couple of years ago, when the Braves at the trade deadline needed outfielders, I'm sitting there on the air going, why the hell did we get rid of Adam Duvall? Why is he down in Miami? And boom, the trade happens, and you're back going from a last place team to a club that's going to go on and win a World Series. How cool a moment was that for you?
Well, it was. I remember sitting on the couch at my house, and it was about 12 o'clock. I think the deadline. I'm not sure, 4 o'clock or whatever. And I just remember getting a call and say, "Hey, you've been traded back to Atlanta. Can you be on a flight here in about an hour and a half?" And I'm thinking, "Whew, Miami, midday lunch hour traffic. I can try." And sure enough, ended up catching that flight and playing that night. And we landed in Atlanta. We had to get to the ballpark, and I remember barely being able to get my uniform on. I didn't stretch or anything, ran straight out to left field. But I feel like that's the type of player I want to be. If you call on me, you call my name, I want to be able to go out there and play hard for you and try and help you win a ball game. And that's what I was able to do.
And I'm guessing you resisted the urge to say to Alex Anthopoulos, why the hell did you let me go in the first place?
We had some conversations about it, and he said it's about business, and I've learned to understand that over the years. It's not always exactly what you want, but there is a business side to baseball, and being able to put the pieces together for a team. So I understand it, and like I said, you don't always agree with it, but there are instances when reunions aren't able to be had. So, but I respect the decisions at the end of the day.
Okay, here's one I want to ask about. As you know a little bit, I have a very close relationship with Kevin Stallings. And when he was Vanderbilt's basketball coach and I was a sports talk show host, we blurred a lot of media and coach kind of lines, and we became very good friends. And I knew that there was this side of him that used to throw batting practice to Jacob. My God, he and I talked about it. Every phone call we had eventually got to that. And then I discover he's throwing batting practice to you. Give me a scouting report on him.
Yeah, no, actually earlier this morning we were hitting in the cages. So yeah, I mean he throws to us every day. It's unbelievable BP. Some days he's more sore than others with working on his golf swing so much, but no, I mean, it's been a blessing, to be able to work with Jacob and his dad, and and I know that he enjoys getting us ready for the season as well, because obviously avid baseball fan, and I'm sure he's watching the games and keeping track of us, and like I said, he throws great BP. He gets me and Jacob right for the season, and we couldn't be more happy with him.
Adam, several years ago, I had gotten a suite at a Sounds game. Vanderbilt basketball was having a reunion weekend, and a lot of his former players, and before that, a lot of Eddie Fogler's former players and some CM Newton players all came back for this thing. So later that night, Kevin sort of holds court at the Sounds new stadium, because whoever they were playing that night, he knew every player. Jacob played against this guy. This guy doesn't throw very well. This guy, he's as hardcore baseball as I am.
Yeah, he is. He is. I mean, we bounce a lot of stuff off of him. Obviously, he's got a lot of knowledge for the game, and just sports in general. So, me and Jacob, we like to talk hitting. We like to talk approaches, and so, he always chimes in, and he's got some great ideas and some great thoughts and opinions. And, so we like to talk shop, whether it's baseball or even golf. We talk a lot of golf as well.
Are you as good a golfer as him?
I am not a good golfer. I think I will be able to be one, but just not right now. I can't spend enough time on my golf swing in order to have it be as consistent as I would like.
Tell me about it. Okay, so before we go, I've shown you a couple of things back here. You can see the Titans Stadium. You can see old Atlanta Stadium back there. You can see the Bridgestone Arena in the background. But I noticed you've played on 2 world title teams, one in San Francisco, one in Atlanta. Show me what's in that rec room.
Yeah, so let's see. Right here.
Right here. Okay, that one's the San Francisco one.
Yeah, and then we've got the other one right here on my other shoulder, the Braves, and then we've got you can't really see it up here. Let's see, right above my head, but that's the Gold Glove that I won last year. So we've got a little. This is kind of like my office, the one room that I get in the house. So I've tried to add a little bit of memorabilia in here, a little bit of memories and some good times, that I've had throughout my career. So.
I love it. That's awesome. Adam, thank you for the visit.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay. I think you can see a little bit of what I said earlier. He is a really easy guy to root for, and I'm sticking with this. He's going to have a monster year at Fenway, and he's going to hit a bunch of bombs. And before it's over, I'm going to get on the air and say, why the hell did we let him go? That's just the way it works.
That green monster, that's probably looking good to him right now.
Oh yeah. Big old target.
Yeah, he's going to do very well up there. Okay, when we come back, we're going to go to the chat room for 3 or 4 questions as we continue the Friday edition of the George Plaster Show.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, Go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
One of the things that we're going to do better on this show in the coming weeks is allow you all some interactive stuff with us. We're going to get phones into this before it's over. We've sort of started with what we've called the chat room, and that's gone really well in the first week that we have done this. So let's go back to the chat room on this Friday afternoon. And Billy, I guess that makes you the chat master.
Chat master. I like
Congratulations. It won't get you a raise, but congratulations nonetheless.
Oh, that was heartwarming.
Yeah, I know it was.
George, Brian in Nashville asks on YouTube, do you think the Patriots, going back to our conversation a couple days ago, do you think the Patriots ever reached out to Tom Brady to potentially come back to New England?
That is a really interesting question because here's what's been going on in New England. There's no doubt that Matt Jones regressed.
Yeah.
But there's also no doubt that Joe Judge and Matt Patricia had no business being his offensive coaches.
They left him out to dry.
Absolutely. And to me, it felt like it was Belichick saying, I'm smarter than everybody. Don't you worry. It'll all work fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't all work fine.
No. And I think they got it right with Bill O'Brien. I think that that's going to be a big plus for them. But I mean, if you look, they were 8-9 with defensive coordinators at an offensive coordinator position. It's not like they've got a bad roster. And so I don't think I'm going to say no about reaching out to Brady to come back. I think that they had so much internal issues that really didn't feel like it was about the quarterback position, that they had to fix that before ever. I mean, they would have known there's no way Brady's coming back into that scenario
Billy,
in the first place.
I'll go a different route. Do I think Robert Kraft, ever brought it up to Belichick as that season wasn't going well with Matt Jones? You bet I think he brought it up, and I think Belichick squashed it. I have no proof of that, but that I don't see that one.
I know we talked about it. I think you brought it up, George, maybe late last week or early this week about, what if that happened? What if Brady went back to New England and kind of, made a nice little return? But it just it feels like more of a pipe dream now. I did not see it happening. But if you say he was a few years younger, say he was 38, 39, 40, maybe had some unfinished business in New England, maybe so. But I wouldn't say he had unfinished business in New England. He did everything he could there. George, we've got another question from Todd on YouTube. He asks,
Todd.
Yes. He asks about the Bucs and how do they respond from this? How do they come back from losing Tom Brady? Where do they go at the quarterback position now?
They've only got one on the roster, right?
Kyle Trask.
Yeah, they've only got one under contract on the roster.
What do you think, George?
Oh, it's two words. It's Derek Carr.
Yeah.
To me, he's the most complete possibility out there that has achieved success. First of all, let me say this about Tampa. I think they miss Bruce Arians, even though he's got kind of a weird way of doing things. I look at Todd Bowles, and all I see on the sideline, I know he's a great defensive mind, but all I ever see out of him during a game is a frown.
Yeah.
I don't ever see him doing anything to help.
George, let me throw this one at you. What about I don't think he's an unrestricted free agent, but I think they could trade for him. What about Kirk Cousins? Is he another one that they might look at?
Why is Minnesota trading Kirk Cousins?
Just feel like there's been a dissatisfaction with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I don't know, maybe that's the national media if Kirk can't win in the big games. You know, they've got Justin Jefferson, who's a stud, and then they got ripped this year. They got ripped this year by who beat him in the playoffs?
Well, the Giants beat him, but to me, it was all about they couldn't stop anybody on defense. And I think if you look at the year Cousins had, it was, I know he's been labeled, but this year I can't blame any of their going out early on him.
Yeah, I feel like he catches an unfair amount of criticism for that. But I don't know. The only reason I say that is I felt like he's gotten a little bit some of that same treatment of Derek Carr is Cousins catches so much crap in the media. And so I wonder how much of that is national media, how much of that's Minnesota. It's just interesting. I was thinking of quarterbacks that could be on the move, and Kirk Cousins seems like he's always talked about.
Okay, Billy, run through that list. And before you do that, let me say this. What's Chicago going to do? They've got the first pick in the draft. Do they take a quarterback and then move Justin Fields? Do they trade down and say, somebody else is dying to have this so they can go after whatever quarterback? I mean, to me, Chicago holds the key to so much of this.
And they've also got, remember when we talked a couple days ago, $90 million in cap space. I mean, they can go on a spending spree. I mean, if you're the general manager, George, let me just put you on the spot. Do you take Bryce Young, try to move Fields, or do you think you can work with Fields?
Oh, I think I want to know what the market bears. I think there's a chance that Chicago could trade down and get so doggone many picks. It could be scary.
I mean, think about that. Think about them trading down. Even if they trade down to like 5, they're going to get probably the best defensive player, the second best defensive player in the draft, probably another first-round pick, some more picks, and they've got $90 million to spend.
That's a big key right there.
Then you get to load up in the draft, and you get to go and sign really the best free agents available, get some weapons around Justin Fields. I'm with you. I don't know about trading or about just taking Bryce Young at number 1. I love it.
I've got some free agent quarterbacks. Let me know what you guys think about these. Baker Mayfield for potential in Tampa.
I do wonder if his little stint in Los Angeles has improved the league's outlook on him.
His market value may have gone up after that, potentially.
Yeah, could be.
Sam Darnold is another guy that'll be out there. Jimmy Garoppolo.
I like that one. Jimmy G.
I think that might be number 2 on Tampa's list
behind Carr.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater. Daniel Jones. Although I think
the Giants are going to get something done with him.
Billy, let me beat you down there to the bottom. I don't know if you're going to get there, but Geno Smith.
Geno really, the narrative on him has changed so much.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Seattle say, look, we want you for the next couple of years?
Yeah. Yeah. Another guy who has had success in Washington, Taylor Heineke. I know he's been more of a backup guy there, but
I thought it was really weird near the end of the season that they went back to Carson Wentz.
Yep.
That surprised me. I thought Heineke had enough success.
You talk about having a chip on your shoulder, maybe going to a new franchise. They say you're our guy. It might be Tampa. Might be for Heineke. Who knows?
I'll throw one more thing out there. I think the best backup quarterback out there, period, is Case Keenum. And I do wonder if a Case Keenum, if given a team and told this is your team, what would he do?
I think
he was a hell of a college quarterback.
Man, he was. Let me ask you this one, George. And I never would have said this a couple months ago. Mike White, he's a free agent on there.
You know, if I'm the Jets, I'm not letting him out of the building. But of course, the Jets are one of these teams that's in on this, mythical Aaron Rodgers thing. Who knows? We got so many unanswered questions.
It's going to be a fun couple of months seeing how this gets sifted out.
We've got one more, guys,
from
the chat room. It's from James and Dixon on Facebook. He asks, of the NFL teams this year not in the playoffs, so a lot of them didn't make the playoffs, which one of those teams do you guys think will make the playoffs or have a shot at making the playoffs next year? The best shot?
Detroit. Or as Terry Crisp says, Detroit.
Detroit.
I agree with that, by the way.
Here's why I feel that way. When Detroit went to Green Bay at the end of the season and put an end to their misery, they had nothing to play for but pride. And the fact that they showed up and kicked Green Bay in Lambeau, that tells me yet again, another example that those players love Dan Campbell. Period.
Yeah.
Man, there's something about this guy that they love, and they love playing for him.
Yep. No, you're no question. Honestly, Detroit, they got a bright future when you look at it. Now they got to stop some guys on defense. They were getting the old 38-35 shootout and get beat, but they were fun to watch. Goodness gracious. They hit the over, I'm sure, more than Vegas would have liked. But George, let me give you one. I'll go AFC. Gosh, there's a couple that come to mind. This is also based on a kind of an if statement, but I might go Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh,
toward the end, they were pretty dangerous.
Trubisky started looking better, and also right now you look.
Yeah, but he was out of the picture. This was all Kenny Pickett.
I mean, not Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, Kenny Pickett started looking a lot better, and I think there's something there. And I'm also gonna look at their division. I think they're better than Cleveland. Baltimore, if they lose Lamar Jackson, I'm sorry, they're not making the playoffs. And so you've got
Hold on a second. Did we have a sound effect back there?
Do that again, Billy.
What was that?
I can't do it again.
No. We want to hear it again.
I'm laughing too.
No. You put it out there. Let's hear it.
I need to control myself first. You do it.
No. You were the one.
We didn't make that sound.
No, we didn't. Where were we?
You can't.
I was on Pittsburgh.
You can't put me on the spot like that.
Sure, I can. Remember, I'm the boss.
This is the George Plaster Show. No, but
anyway, don't you forget it.
Hey, Kenny Pickett.
Okay,
I think there's something there.
There's no doubt there.
And Baltimore looks like they're in shambles. I just think they're going to get second, right behind Cincinnati. I think they're going to get in, and I'll give you two more that's going to be interesting. God forbid, I don't want to keep going through what he has to go through, but the Jets roster is a quarterback away if they can get Aaron Rodgers, and New England's also right there. And so I could easily see one of those two teams. They were like a game or two behind Miami this year, and Tua's got to be healthy. If he's healthy, I think they'll make the playoffs. But if he's not, one of those two teams is going to be better.
I don't know who saw this and who didn't, but it just came out in the last 36 hours that he just passed through concussion protocol.
That's sad.
I will say this. He's a great talent. I honestly, for his life, I hope he never plays again.
Yeah. I was listening to the radio this morning driving in, George, and I was thinking the same thing about this is a big decision for him coming up. And you got to think about what are his parents telling him? What are the doctors telling him? Are they giving him the right information that he needs? And you hope they are. You hope he's making the right decision for not his football career, but his life. I mean, you've seen so many stories about, we saw the Junior Seau situation. You've seen other instances where guys let it get bad. They let it get too bad for them in their life. and not their career. It's not about your NFL career anymore.
Yeah.
And I just hope we learn from that. So
you don't want to see a Charlie Brewer situation. I think that's the saddest. That is the saddest situation. How many times that guy's been through concussion protocol. And, the scary thing is obviously it's about his brain, but with concussions, the likelihood of the next one just keeps getting higher. And so you watch and I feel like I'm watching Tua and I'm just clenched the whole time.
You just cringe.
Yeah. Anytime a defensive lineman's coming after him, you just God forbid anything happens. I mean, he's had some really serious injuries too, even outside of the brain stuff.
Yeah. It reminds you a little bit of Jake Locker in Nashville, where he's a good player, but the guy just can't stay healthy. And it's not of his own fault. It's just, I don't know, the body type, I don't know what it is, but he just can't stay healthy.
It's a sad deal.
Okay. Good chat room. Good stuff. We're going to really encourage next week more of this because we're enjoying it. We think you do as well. Bet of the day. There'll be a first when we come back.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Pennington Distilling Company was founded in 2011 with the goal of creating original craft spirits that embody the same character as the city they were born in, Nashville, Tennessee. From grain to glass, every step is taken to produce spirits of exceptional craftsmanship and quality. Pick up one of their award-winning products like Pickers Vodka, Davidson Reserve Whiskey, and Whisper Creek Tennessee Sip and Cream today. Or stop by the distillery in West Nashville and the Nations. Follow them on social media and online at PenningtonDistillingCo.com.
Once the All-Star game is over, the Nashville Predators will have another of their college nights. Tuesday, February the 7th, Tennessee State University front and center stage when the Vegas Golden Knights come to town. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. The College Night Series ticket package includes a Predator game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/college nights.
Final segment on a Friday. I was going to say Football Friday. It's not necessarily a Football Friday. Kind of sad. Next week will be, though. We got Plaster's Bet of the Day coming up, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. Again, that's 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. I just forgot that there is no bet of the day.
There is no bet of the day, but that was good.
Got some love for Bart Durham.
Let me say this. The worst feeling in broadcasting is when you know you're about to cough and you can't do anything about it. The end of the last segment was pathetic. It looked bad. So how do I say, when we come back, we'll have the Plaster Bet of the Day, but we won't today.
Yep.
This is the first time since we've started doing this show that we're not going to have a bet.
You know, George, what do you guys think about this idea? Run through some college matchups. I know there's no lines, but some of the big college matchups.
Straight up games.
You give us a winner.
Give me 2 or 3.
Okay. Kansas at Iowa State.
Ooh.
At 11 a.m.
Iowa State.
Bingo.
Let me tell you what.
Hilton. What do they call it?
The Hilton Center. I've done a game there. It's beautiful.
They call it Hilton Hysteria or something like that. I forget what it is.
That is a really mentally tough team. Now, you say that. Kansas went to Rupp a week ago and showed some mental toughs that I wasn't sure about, but I'm going Iowa State.
I was the same way. I like Iowa State. If anything, it's so hard to win on the road. And credit to Kansas, they did do it, but I like Iowa State. It's a big game for them.
Okay, 1 o'clock, Auburn, the return of Bruce Pearl to Knoxville. They're playing Tennessee.
Big Orange.
All the way?
Yeah.
I would hammer Tennessee here, too.
First
coming
of
back
all,
after a loss.
They're going to bounce back.
First of all, I don't doubt that Coach Barnes has made those players' lives miserable.
I would not want to be a Tennessee player these past couple days.
Florida. To me, Florida is the big kid, Castleton.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, I'm not that impressed with Florida.
Yeah.
I think that was not a good loss for Tennessee.
That's not a good shooting team.
Mm-hmm. A 1 seed, which I think Tennessee could be, has to go win that game.
No question. There's not a strong, I mean, Bama's really good, but there's Purdue, guess we'll see outside of the Big Ten, but I just don't feel like there's a strong 1 seed this year.
No, yeah, other than Purdue, yeah. I mean,
I'm seeing a matchup that you better come to.
TCU at Oklahoma State's not a big one with TCU's guys out.
Miami and Clemson is a good matchup in the ACC, but this is the big matchup Saturday to watch.
Bobby Knight throw a chair rivalry.
3 o'clock on ESPN, number 1 Purdue in Bloomington to face a top 25 Indiana team.
They hate each other.
Yeah.
The question
this is going to be fun.
Can Assembly Hall, that great old building that I have never been in, never gotten to do a game in, which I always wanted to, can that be enough for Indiana to pull the upset? And the real answer is, how do they handle this big kid at Purdue who has suddenly gone from kind of a stiff?
He's unreal.
He's Yao Ming, right?
He's the college player of the year.
He's unreal. I mean, and they do a great job. Credit to Purdue. Everything runs through that guy.
Yep.
You know what makes me so frustrated is when you got a great big and they just don't feed it. I mean, everything runs through Edey. It's pretty impressive.
How do you guard that team?
Well, with Edey, you got to hope. You got to get lucky and get him on a bad shooting day.
Yeah. Because you send an extra guy. They got shooters everywhere.
And you got to have somebody on the college level that knows how to push him out about 2 feet farther than he's comfortable with.
Right.
Well, they blitzed Penn State Wednesday night because Purdue had a kid off the bench have like 26 in the first almost half. And so it was like, well, when that happens and you've got Edey, you might as well, I mean, night termite.
The shooters around him.
Hold on. What was that?
Night termite. You like that?
Not really. No.
Night termite?
I like it.
I like it too.
I think Purdue wins the game, but I think it goes right to the wire.
Yeah.
Another one of the Big 12, number 10, Texas in Manhattan to play Kansas State. Texas is still number 10 right now. K-State is playing good basketball, though.
K-State drills them.
You think?
Yes.
K-State
is for real.
They are good.
They're really good.
Look
Gonzaga
at
and St. Mary's. Late night tip-off.
St. Mary's.
You know?
Saint Maria.
Gonzaga, they're a fraud.
I think they are, for the first time in a long time. They do give you a feeling that they're not at the level they have been or anywhere close to it.
No.
Now, say this for Gonzaga. They went and beat Alabama neutral site in Birmingham. Nothing neutral about that. So they can turn on.
Yeah, they can turn it on. It's like Georgia this year in football. You know, they may struggle against St. Mary's, but when they got to turn it on, we'll see if they can.
That little gym they'll play in at St. Mary's is a cracker box.
I remember watching a Vandy they played at St. Mary's long time ago, and it was so weird watching that game.
Timmy has to have a big game for them to win.
It's a fun weekend with underdogs that are good playing at home. You got Iowa State, St. Mary's, who was the other one?
Indiana.
Kansas State, Indiana. Those are going to be some fun environments. Man, it's going to be great.
Even though it was taped, and I'm not going to tell you when it was taped, I was honest enough to at least say, this is on tape. All of you have a great weekend. Drive safely. Monday, we got a really good show for you. First of all, we're going to get a former NFL referee to tell us how the officials screwed up the no-play do-over in the Kansas City-Cincinnati game. That's something to look forward to. For our entire crew, George Plaster, See ya. Have a good weekend.